Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Mandatory Redistribution Party. Today we're taking a trip to the mountains of madness as I place Jack within an experiment to test the limits of human communication. To what extent can we influence or pull upon the ideology of another, particularly those who are emotionally connected to conservatism and the right wing? This is a question I think about a lot. I don't like to think of people as evil or a lost cause to the fight for a compassionate world. And yet, I regularly fear that is a naive or impractical view. All right, put your listening hat on. It's time for the app. Jack, you have won a skiing holiday in a packet of Monster Munch. You're going to be sent to the Alps.
Oh, no.
You decide to go and try and make the best of it.
Am I on my own?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's just for one. You pack your things.
my what? My skis?
You pack your cold weather pants.
Yeah, long
Yeah.
johns.
Go along. You know it's not going to be exactly your vibe, but maybe skiing itself could be quite fun.
No, okay.
You've gone along. It's the premise.
Okay, I'm going. Yeah, I accept it.
You check it out. You get a free tab on the bar, so you've got hot chocolate on tap.
I don't have the self-control to not kill myself.
Okay, well, you make an arrangement with the
cut me
barista
off.
to only give you a certain amount per day.
Cut me off at a litre of hot choc.
Yeah. It's not a bad little retreat. You're on your last day out. You've only been there a few days, but like a weekend holiday.
They give me? Weekend?
They're giving you 4 days, the long weekend.
Right, so I've got to take 2 days off from work.
No, the Monday's a bank holiday.
And I'm travelling on those 2 days. I'm travelling on the Friday and the Monday.
Monster Munch have dropped the ball here. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
So your last day, you're going up for a few little slides down the mountain. You're going up the ski lift one last time. Then suddenly you hear a rumble. Could be anything. You know they do...
Godzilla.
They do like planned explosions.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. So you can't let snow drifts build up too high because then you've got avalanche risks.
Oh, right. Okay.
So actually there are little planned explosions.
So they do like an
that happen.
intentional avalanche?
Yeah, intentional mini avalanches to stop the big bad avalanche.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Snow Keynesianism.
Yeah, exactly. So you think, oh, it's probably just that. Person next to you also looks worried.
Who's next to me?
Boris Johnson.
What?
You couldn't see him underneath the hood, but you know when something like weird happens and you look at the person next to you to be like, what's going on? The line of the ski lift snaps.
What?
Both
Oh my God.
below to the snow below. It's not far. The snow's very soft.
Okay.
You're both fine.
No broken bones.
Yeah, you're both getting up. You're a little bit winded, but that's it. But then you realise, oh, it is an avalanche.
Oh, is the ski lift still going?
Ski lift has suspended action. There's no debris above, but there is a risk. There's now a line of avalanche approaching you. Far off. You've got time to run.
Oh, shit. What? Okay, so is it coming from...
So you start running in the alternative direction.
Have I got skis on? How am I running?
Badly.
Do I take the skis off? What do I do? What shoes connected to a ski?
Bowling shoes.
What?
Bowling shoes.
What?
Yeah, bowling shoes were originally invented for skiing.
What?
No grip.
What have I got on? Are my skis on or am I unhooking them?
I think you probably go up the ski lift with skis on.
Are you assuming, have I learned, what day has this happened? I've gone out on the Friday. I've never skied before, so I'm getting there on the Friday. Hot choc. Saturday morning, going out. How many lessons have I had?
You've had a day of lessons and you're very bad at skiing. You're terrible at skiing.
Yeah, I assume that.
But you're still having fun.
But I could ski.
The nature of the ski lift having fallen apart means that the actual slope is no longer appropriate or capable of skiing.
Okay, so the ski, useless. I get rid of them.
Yeah.
Discard.
Both you
Open inventory,
and
discard.
Boris Johnson remove the skis from your feet, and begin running slowly.
So if this is very soft snow, I imagine it's quite deep.
Yes, so you're running incredibly slowly.
Yeah.
However, there is an external supply cupboard, which we're able to get into. Not a supply cupboard, like a shed, like an equipment shed.
Okay. Not locked up.
You're able to get inside it. It's not locked up.
So I didn't have to bust in. So I've not wasted energy busted in. It's just open.
You just opened it.
And it's not a shelter, it's a store.
So both you and he have ended up inside the equipment shed. The snow's coming in. It crashes against the shack. However, the shack's sturdy. It's been built in the last 10 years.
It could have been something. Could have been built with the last 10 years. What's that?
I'm not saying it's some old.
Doesn't make sense.
It could be an old
brick.
Swiss shack from the 20s that was.
Yeah, if it was built by the Swiss in the 1800s, it'd probably be exemplary. Geneva was entirely surrounded by the thickest walls in Europe.
You're very hard to pitch hypothetical to because you're very incisive.
We're in a structure,
a
resilient structure in which I am imprisoned with Boris Johnson.
You have electricity. It's still connected.
Oh my
to the
God!
main.
What fair play?
Yeah.
Underground.
That's why I brought up its modernity.
Underground wire
because it's still heated, but there are no
radiator.
There's
or
no
like
communications equipment.
No comms. Comms are down.
Comms are down. But you are, however, safe. The avalanche has happened.
Right.
You have survived. You know that people will come out and look.
I know this.
You know
this is part of my training.
Someone higher up was aware that someone was on there.
He'll have a tracker. Bojo will have a tracker. He's not got a minder with him.
No, he's not got a minder because he's out on the bloody Alps. There's no minder.
What? Anyone could try and assassinate him. Why isn't he not got a minder? Isn't there like a the Americans have a secret service?
He's Bolshevik. He's specifically
Bolshevik.
He's a bit Bolshevik.
Okay.
And he's asked specifically, just let me just do a bit of skiing.
Like when Theodore Roosevelt used to go into the woods and like hunt.
Yeah, and also when people are out in high society, they're less at risk of assassination. It's just some of my lot.
Oh, okay, so the other people, not everyone's there on a Monster Munch holiday. They've paid.
Exactly.
I think you could be a wealthy assassin.
You can be, but it's much less likely. And I think the rich would feel safer than
among
they would
their own
compared to walking through the high street in Warrington.
Yeah, you never hear about what's that meeting they have? Davos.
Right.
You never hear about an assassination there.
Exactly.
Yeah, fair. Okay, I buy it.
Assassinations happen in like public squares where different classes can meet. The Red Hand Gang and Bill Gates.
Okay, so we're trapped in a shack, snowed in. Is it like covering the roof?
Yeah.
No chance of it melting.
So basically, you're stuck for hours, could be days.
Have I got any way? Sorry, has Boris Johnson got some kind of tracking device on him that's signalling? Right, so how do we know that people are coming?
An operator of the ski lift saw you board it and presumably saw what happened.
Down with binoculars, down the slope.
Yeah, someone high up keeps an eye out.
Yeah.
They must have seen everything that's happened and they were high up enough to avoid the avalanche.
Okay.
That is what I've put in place to answer that question.
Okay. And they've perhaps from a distance seen us walk to the shack.
Yeah.
So there's rescue services, emergency services are en route.
So the headlines are,
right,
you are simply trapped, but you are not in danger. And you're not even in discomfort. But now you have to wrestle with your current situation, which is you are now in a one-on-one scenario with the most powerful person in the United Kingdom. You have unfettered access to them. You would feel some kind of obligation towards the circumstances to use this for good. But what would be the good thing to do?
Okay, well, I'd have tried to kill him.
Yeah?
If I saw that there was an avalanche coming.
You'd push him into the snow.
Yep. No, I would have been clocked. How
you knew someone was watching from up on there.
Yeah, so I'd have been.
But you could still kill him now. But what benefit would that bring?
Yeah, I retract. That's what.
So here
my immediate emotions are: you are complicit in the austerity deaths of 120,000 people. This is your fault.
Let's not even forget like the racially motivated violence, which has been directly linked to his
rhetoric.
Comments. Yeah,
a bad person. But do I actually think that I would kill him? I think that would be. I would be like, oh, I want to kill you, you bastard. But I don't think I would. I don't think.
Well, there's two questions, right? Would that be the right thing to do? And then there's, are you capable of it?
At what point have I clocked him on the ski lift?
You only clock him once the avalanche is making itself known, and you do that kind of uncomfortable, because you're both ignoring each other, like you're British people on public transport.
Okay.
But then when something's going wrong, you look to the person next to you to try and work out how worried should I be.
Yeah. Is he
And
scared?
then you're like, oh, he's scared.
Yeah.
He's got political power. He can't turn back the snow. It's not King Canute.
My hatred would be powerful, but I haven't got the emotional wherewithal or physical wherewithal to take him down.
Well, let's assume this is like a supply cupboard that has all kinds of bits and bobs that maybe a groundskeeper uses.
Well, like a trowel.
I'm just saying you could assassinate him. You don't need to. This isn't like a Roman gladiatorial test of raw brute strength. You could just shiv him.
Nah, it'd achieve nothing. What it would achieve is I would be racked with guilt for killing another human being.
Yeah,
even
and apparently
one that's
does
evil.
stuff to you. There's killing, and then there's shiving someone in a way where you feel the manual sensation of them dying because of your actions. It just does something to you.
Well, it's like soldiers always get PTSD from killing other human beings, don't they? And they're all fucking fucked in the head. Even the SS. So the SS were not conscripted. They had to prove their Aryan heritage 5 generations and enthusiastically sign up. And when they were killing people in Ukraine, they had real problems because there was rampant alcoholism as a means of self-medication among the SS. We're talking about, truly evil fuckers here.
Yeah.
These aren't soldiers fighting a war. These are people behind the lines of the military whose job is to kill undesirable people.
Yeah.
And they're ideologically devoted to that. And they've been indoctrinated into that. Probably they're in the Hitler Youth in the early 30s. So they're complete, they're all in, super Nazis, and they do not have the mental wherewithal to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah. It's taking them apart. More recent history, even in ISIS, they had to deal with, because they would like break people in by having them do beheadings.
Oh, fucking hell.
And then those people would just end up in just stop turning up stuff, just staying in their bunk. Getting sick makes you vom. I can imagine beheading would make you vom.
So then I'd be in a shack. I'd be in a shack with Boris Johnson's corpse and my own vomit
constantly.
And PTSD.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to.
We're drawing a line.
But also, political assassination doesn't work. It doesn't. It just makes
Boris Johnson gone, and now we've got Jacob Rees-Mogg.
What's the Leviathan, and it's like the many-headed Hydra, isn't it? Just another thing comes up. But also, I don't believe in revenge. It achieves nothing. So, yeah, I wouldn't.
It's a very masculine way of dealing with your emotions.
I was like, yeah, I'll kill him, but no, I don't know. That was my instinctive, silly bravado response, was I'd kill him because he's a bad entity.
I think I would have started in the same place you would start with if I was given the same question.
Yeah, so
that guy's
I'm not gonna kill him for one reason. I don't think you should kill anyone else. I think it's bad. 2, I don't think I could ever kill anyone, even someone I regarded as evil. 3, I don't think political assassination achieves anything politically for the people. It would do nothing for them.
So we're drawing a line, strike through.
And I think I reckon he's a brawler.
I've heard a lot about when you're in public school, they feed you up big time and the PE is completely over the top. The PE destroys you. They fill up on pasta before having a 3-course meal. They fill up all the time. The idea being that they reach their maximum height potential. What? There's this big thing of you need to, part of the school system's job is to make you as tall as your body can possibly be.
Private school. What the fuck is happening? So do you know in medieval times, the rich were physically much taller than the poor because they had such better nutrition. Yeah. Although in some cases, poor people would have better nutrition because the really rich would be gorging on stuff that's actually really bad for you, and the poor would just be eating salmon from the river.
They're just eating the turnip they've grown. Yeah, I got the nutrition I need. Whereas you're having 3 bottles of piss poor medieval wine a day, and that's destroyed you.
Yeah. So I went to an interview. I applied for a job in a private school, not because I fucking wanted it, but because I wanted to see, when am I going to get? When is an oik like myself going to get into this place? I went in and it was a tour of the place, and it was weird. It was just me there, and there weren't other people being interviewed. I really didn't understand how the interview worked. But anyway, it was just me. Got shown around all these beautiful old buildings, Gothic architecture. I was getting on. I had good banter with the guy, and he was talking about what sports I could do, because I think pretty much every teacher has to be involved in teaching sports, because they do. Yeah. trying to make them good at rugger or whatever.
Yeah. I'm talking about esports.
I'm not good at any sports. Yeah. So I lied and said that I was good at archery and fencing. I didn't want to say Nerf.
Laser tag.
Yeah. They were
Hogs.
They were, I didn't want to say fox hunting, which he would obviously regard as sport, but I was like, these are sports where he's not going to ask me to do them now.
Yeah, you can't go give us a quick demo.
Yeah.
If you say, I'm good at Irish dancing,
yeah,
you might be
like,
asked to do a
lad.
jig. Yeah.
And then that becomes part of the interview. So,
Go on, lad.
yeah, he would never say that. He then took me into the school's church and was like, my brain wanted me to say church club then.
Yeah.
But
we have
it's
church
not-
club.
Just church,
Yeah.
I think. Like assembly where they do songs and prayers and whatever. Like every day.
Are you explaining what church is?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. And he then said, we think it's really important to instill British and Christian values.
Uh-huh.
And then I think I said something like, it's like imperialism.
At the job interview.
I meant it to be a joke because it was a history interview.
Yeah.
So if you know anything about history, it was a history joke.
Yeah.
No. Really soured the whole rest of the remaining hour or so of the day. Yeah, misread the situation.
Yeah,
should have been known to do.
Bad gig.
Yeah, fucking tanked it. But then we went for food.
Uh-huh.
And lunch in this place, it was a 3-course. It was like a curry. And it was like a high school canteen. My brain's like, turkey Twizzlers.
Yeah, turkey Twizzlers, pink custard.
You got poppadoms, you got your different little, you got your mango chutney, your onions, all the gear. You got your main course, choice, korma type thing. Like a Rogan Josh, maybe.
Yeah. I've had some friends who went to Oxford, so I visited the Oxford College cafeteria.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. It's like absolutely insane. Dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Subsidized by something. It's like really, really dirt cheap. And then because all the colleges have their own different levels of prestige.
Yeah.
Depending on how old they are. And then the ones which are like mega old, they're the full on Hogwarts dining chambers where like it's King Henry VIII feasts every day if you want it. And this is the most grim thing. There are some whose their traditions of how you ask for food and stuff is so like going back to like aristocracy and like slave level servants who are just attached to your family that you get more water by just lifting the water jug up and not making any eye contact with the serving staff. And they just have to fill it silently. You're not supposed to acknowledge each other's existence. And if you do, that's like, well, this guy doesn't belong in this college.
What?
Yeah.
It didn't have that. That would have really sent me under. But it was like a window into another world. But I was like, oh my God, they're training them. They're feeding them up.
Yeah.
These people and training them for the class war. But Boris Johnson has that. So I'm worried.
So we're drawing a line over murder. Murder's not happening, right?
Yeah.
So we're just big strike through that.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
So you're still trapped in the room. Is there anything you can achieve using your unfettered access to this person?
Have I got my phone? Can I record him?
You could record him. You can't get signal, but you do have your phone.
Yeah, I'll try and do an episode of the poddy.
Yeah, do an interview with him.
Yeah.
So what ends?
I'm trapped in the Alps, Boris Johnson. He's here. Yeah, are you all right, mate? Yes, I'm happy, he says. And then I would say, do you feel any remorse for any of the people whose lives you've worsened? Not just the people you've killed, but the...
and then he'd say neither yes nor no, and then talk about gravy or something. Or I think it would do numbers for the poddy. So I see what.
Yeah, that is my only option. I don't think
if he retweets that,
he doesn't respond to anything. Like if you look at any of his interactions in interviews, he just goes pure charisma.
Yeah,
like that's his thing. The people who like it are like, he's what a cad. He's not like other politicians.
Yeah.
Because he votes for the horrendous policies that make people's lives worse. But he's a bit of a laugh. I like to have a laugh. He'd just be doing that at me. Or do you think he would? Do you think privately he's like that? Or do you think privately he's more of a sinister operator?
But if you stuck a recording, if he knew it was being recorded...
he would activate. So
then he doesn't know who you are. Yeah,
So I'd have to do it sneakily.
I've
listened
to
the intro
Jacob
later.
Rees-Mog's own podcast, which is presumably...
He's got a podcast?
Yeah, Jacob, the Mogcast.
Oh my God.
And even in that, Jacob Rees-Mogg is less so, much less so than a public interview, but he's still guarded and defensive at all times. Because if you're a Tory MP, You just have to be, especially if you're doing anything that's like broadcast or recorded.
Right.
So if he knows you're recording him, yeah, you're going to get the bluster.
Right, he's going to activate.
But if he either doesn't know or you're not recording him, he's presumably just going to be whoever he normally is.
Do you know what I would do?
I think he's
Okay, I
going to be
figured it
far
out.
less guarded.
No.
Just trapped in this
Yeah,
room.
so he doesn't know
would be at
he doesn't
any
know
other
who,
time.
who the fuck I am.
Yeah.
Sound. I start recording surreptitiously. He doesn't know I'm being recorded. And I
Yeah.
pretend to be a Tory. I pretend to be a Tory and I talk about how great he is. I attempt to get him to reveal the truth in his heart.
Okay.
The way I imagine a hardcore Tory talks to another hardcore Tory in complete private, in the privacy of a shack trapped in the Alps.
Because he also presumes you're a rich Alp skier as well.
Exactly.
So
He doesn't know I'm a Monster Munch boy.
Exactly.
So he doesn't know I'm a Monster Munch boy.
They're not doing a tannoy alert. Warning. There will be a Monster Munch boy amongst us.
So I'm surreptitiously recording. I pretend to be a Tory. Also, we have shared trauma, which brings people together. So we're huddled together. Although you said it's heated, so maybe not. We're not huddled together.
Like, even though I'm telling you you're safe and stuff, you're still fucking shook up.
Yeah,
right?
shook
You're
up.
going to both feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
So even if you were to say something that was a bit, that's a bit extreme.
Yeah.
He would feel a certain camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bojo, I'm so glad I'm in here with a man like you. No, that would be too on the nose. What would I say? Bloody hell, that was bad, wasn't it?
That's your first line.
Yeah, bit rough. When do you reckon? Glad I'm in here with you, because then they'll come and find me. Oh, that might give it away. No, I'll say it's a good job. It's both of us, because
We're both very
the
important.
bank I run will be sending a chopper. Whose chopper will arrive first?
Do you want to put bets on? I've got 10 grand to spare.
Yeah.
Because the one reason that people don't get undercover stories with these people is because the groups they inhabit are so guarded in the first place. Even sending a mole in is like incredibly difficult.
Well, the groups they inhabit are probably quite a lot of the leading political editors of our broadcast news.
Sure.
So they don't need to infiltrate them because they are them.
Well, I meant if someone who was like trying to expose the government.
Yeah. Did you know that the Daily Mail sent reporters to John McDonnell's wife's parents' house, which I think is in Goa, and then tricked them into being invited in for tea or whatever, and then was trying to get the dirt, in case he owned houses in Goa and was secretly a landlord. They invested resources in doing that.
Yeah, you'd need to make yourself appear so rich as to be on their radar as a non-suspicious person.
Well, Rich, how would I
yourself?
Prove to him? How would I not? Hello? I would have to change my voice, do you think? Oh, it's chilly out there. Ooh.
Spot of bother.
Oh, spot of bother. Where's the chop? I wonder if there's any booze in here, Boris. Let's have a look. Trowel, another trowel, another trowel.
Oh, plenty of shivs.
Oh, plenty of shivs. Oh, I hope we don't get into a tussle. Oh boy, what school did you go to? I went to Chippington's. There was a bit of terps. So we have this. Ooh, warm the cockles. Here you go. We got a receptacle. Use our ski shoe, bowling shoe. Put some terps in. Bit of snow. Keep it cold. Water it down. There you go, Boris. Ooh, cheers. I cheers my shoe to his. Whoa, this reminds me of the days at Chippington's where we'd sneak some terps from the groundskeeper. Oh, he was always after us, up to no good. One time, a working class person, a postman, got trapped in the grounds because he couldn't find his way out. We hunted him using the fox hunting horses. We got in a spot of bother with the groundskeeper. We hid in the last place he'd look, his own shed, and got razzed on his terps as the postman sat in the corner weeping. Please let me go. No! And then he'd be my mate.
So your strategy at this stage is to get him to say something that will expose him when you leak the recording.
Yeah, so how would I lead him to that? well, you know what we should do, and then see what he says.
Why do you assume it will immediately be racism or something?
Yeah.
But the thing is, with,
yeah, he does that anyway.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's going to be my point. Boris Johnson he's already achieved that Trumpian level of, he's done most of the bad things you can do. You might be able to find a more extreme version of it. He's already done racism, he's done sexism. There was the shouting in his flat. So, like,
okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe I could get him to say something about like forced repatriation or something. I reckon he's probably into that.
But
would it have any effect?
What dent
Okay,
would that make when you release it?
Well, nothing.
It's not going to surprise anyone when he's into forced repatriation. It'll be in the news cycle for 2 days.
But even if I got a recording of him saying something horrific, I don't even think it would enter the news cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
It would get 400 retweets from left Twitter.
You would get some followers. That is the biggest effect you would get from leaking that recording.
I think what we have to admit is, even being trapped with Boris Johnson, you're never going to persuade him to change his ideology.
Do you think you could not persuade him off it?
To do that.
Not persuade him off of it, but like weaken it a little bit, or take him down a notch? Do you think there's any...
What argument could I present to him that he's not heard? What could I show him that's more affecting than, 700 homeless people?
But hang on. You're not presenting him with an argument. So Boris Johnson will never have met anyone like you in his entire life.
Alternative. So instead of pretending to be Chauncey, I'm just me. I admit that I am a norm.
Just to address the idea that he's not going to respond to an argument, he's not going to respond to a statistic. But the virtue you have is that you're neither of those things. You're just evidence.
Yeah, he's probably never been confronted with
human story of...
Yeah, so I could talk about my own youth or the things I've encountered in work or my friends' experiences.
Traditionally, if, say, there's some like rare disease and there's no way of curing it and no one's really working on it, you manage to get the ear of a very famous publisher or a very famous like aristocrat or just someone who's got time to put money and effort into a campaign. Suddenly there'll be loads of investment into researching a cure for this. Like that has been like in the past, that would be how you would go and get money for a social cause. You'll go and find the sympathy of someone with power. Otherwise, nothing gets done. Because if I go and tell someone who works at the post office, "Oh, help! There's this issue," or "How can I help?" That has traditionally been a way of getting the elite on side, is just by emotionally manipulating them,
giving them a way to whitewash, to launder their own image, public image.
Sure. So I'm saying, like, if you can't, killing him does nothing.
Killing him does nothing.
Doing a big expose on something he said in this shack does nothing. This is a very small thing. It's not as big as like him going away and conservatism stopping being an ideology. But could you even dilute it? What effect can you even have?
What could he say to me that would change my mind? Nothing. So I assume the same of him.
Every now and again, a conservative person can make a good point. It might make me... You like aware of concern trolling?
No.
You like sea lying and stuff like that. It's like another form of an online rhetorical phenomenon that is bad. Concern trolling is kind of, I pretend to believe what you believe, but then as a member of your group, I really preach caution about doing this because as a member of your group, I just don't want this to turn out badly. So rather than criticizing from the outside, I say, yeah, me and you are the same. We agree the same thing. The only difference between me and you is that I'm more cautious about this, and I think maybe it's not going to work out.
But it doesn't challenge the core principles from which you behave. I think, like, I've definitely been self-reflective of the own limitations of my thinking and altered it. I'm not the same, even week by week, in how I think about things. Because, stasis is death. But the fundamental values.
Because they're values, right? They're not they're not like beliefs it's not a belief about what I think is true about the world. It's just, here are the things that are important to me. Which you can't show me a graph and change that.
I am a cisgendered white man. So I've definitely become more aware through reading and listening to people of trans issues, for example. But that's like learning about a thing to become more concerned of, and a thing I'm like,
because you had
maybe I was ignoring that
finding
before.
Yeah, you had a value to begin with of, I ought to know about concerns that affect people's lives that aren't me.
Yeah, so if Boris Johnson was trapped in a shack with me and wanted to convince me that austerity was good, I don't think it will happen. I don't know. I mean, maybe if you presented me with a thing that just categorically gave me this like huge epiphany, but I don't think Boris Johnson has got either the information or the ways of arguing that would appeal to me to do that.
I think people can, under some circumstances, change what their values are.
Right. What, such as?
Their material circumstances radically changing.
Okay, like for example, the boomer millennial thing of like, boomers are all conservative, but the reason they're conservative is they're homeowners and they have capital and that thing. That's
sure,
like
and I can also imagine that happening in reverse, where someone ends up destitute and suddenly it's very hard to shake the whole private home ownership stuff when you now are on the other side of that fence. I'm just saying,
sure,
I believe that kind of thing can happen.
But do you think it can happen from just persuasion in the moment?
That's the big question. Like, I'm imagining like Buddha, because Buddha started off as a prince.
Yeah.
And then he went down and he saw the homeless people and he went, I can't live like this. And I feel like there's a very good reason of why politicians are almost guarded from seeing those things. Like, I don't think that politicians, there's a real ambiguity here, but politicians either choose not to go and see it, don't believe those things exist, don't want to provide opportunities for the press to photograph them next to a homeless person, or sometimes politicians are actually kept a bit abstracted by like the institutions they're in. They have these minders that make sure they go to certain places to keep them on the road of the policies they already said they'd go to.
There's photos of Tories at food banks smiling.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But a food bank, again...
There's homeless people everywhere. There's homeless people outside fucking Westminster, man. They know. They fucking know. That's why I don't think I could change this person's mind, because he knows full well what he's doing.
You don't think there's any scene or anything that would... Even if they almost didn't change their behaviour, it would tug on them hard in the moment.
No, they would see it. They would go, this person hasn't got enough of the market in their life. This person was failed by their parents. This person didn't work hard enough.
So I guess if you draw a line under that and say that form of straightforward persuasion isn't possible, then you really need to change your tactics then in such a big way. I feel like I see so much of people talking to each other in ways that feel equally futile every day.
But we're dealing with two things. So when I say I can't change Boris Johnson's mind, that's because he is at the other end of a spectrum from me.
You're both extreme.
We're extremes. There's people, to the right of Boris Johnson, there's people to the left.
Sure.
Doubtless. But we're nonetheless in the 15% of people who are unchangeable in a capitalist democracy like ours. You've got 15% of people who are hardcore Tory or Republican. And you've got 15% of people who are hardcore progressives or on the left, whatever. Right? And what happens is the majority are, because of the systems that exist, are a lot of things are depoliticized and people are like quite kind of apolitical and malleable. So this is how the Overton window is able to shift, is what it does, is it's moving those people, it's moving the consensus.
Yeah.
There are people who are persuadable one way or the other, pulled to the left or pulled to the right, depending on one-to-one conversations or the general kind of cultural milieu in which they operate, and people kind of shift. So I do think that for the people that are in that middle kind of apolitical block that maybe think about politics at election time, they're changeable. But I don't think me or Boris Johnson are.
Because you're at extremes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That makes sense. I think that makes sense.
So I don't completely reject the idea that persuasion is pointless and then once you hit a certain point, your ideology is completely static. I think that because so much of our culture is depoliticized, like people can go through life and go, I don't really care about politics. Whereas politics is the thing that determines, power. It's what determines their day-to-day. It's what determines their life.
Do you know, I'd go on further and say, not only could you not persuade Boris Johnson, I don't think you and he would even be able to have a coherent conversation about politics. Let's just assume, for argument's sake, he was just abstractly interested in talking to someone who had your set of beliefs. Do you know what I mean? You're not a threat to him. You're not grilling him for news.
No, I think we could definitely have a coherent conversation. I don't think we'd agree, but you can definitely have a conversation.
Have you heard of the thought experiment of like Wittgenstein's lion? Do you know what I mean by that?
No.
So Wittgenstein does a lot of stuff on like language
got a lion?
and reference. He didn't have a lion, but he did.
Is he
have
like a zoo guy?
Have a thought experiment.
Who is this guy?
Wittgenstein.
Yeah, is he a zoo guy?
No, he's a philosopher. He's like a
German?
German. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he put forward a thought experiment to say that if a lion could speak English, a lion learned English.
Okay.
Right, you would not.
Why
be
would a
able
lion
to,
learn English? Lions don't live in England.
Okay. This
A lion can
learned
talk.
English. I feel like when you would come to a thought experiment with this level of nitpickery, we don't get anywhere.
Okay. A lion can talk.
Yeah, a lion can speak English, which is the language that you can speak.
Yeah.
However,
Telepathically.
no.
No, its mouth wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
Okay.
So you and he,
We can
or
communicate.
she,
I can communicate with a lion.
yes. Well, the lion can speak. Do you want me to set it up again?
Yeah, but just be clear, I'm confused.
The lion can speak English. You must have seen this in an animated film, or you may have seen depictions of this in Saturday morning children's entertainment.
Okay, yeah.
That even though you have a shared language, you will not be able to converse intelligibly with the lion, because the lion's understanding of the world and its reference and its culture are so radically different to yours across all planes that you just wouldn't be able to actually express your ideas properly, even though you have the same language, because what you look to in the world to use to express yourself are just so different. You'd still remain not understanding each other.
Darmok and Gelada Tanagra.
Oh, I don't know what you've just said.
Yeah. One listener will.
Fair enough.
That's for you, Star Trek Next Generation fan. There's an episode called Darmok of... So Wittgenstein, don't know, but there's a Star Trek episode that has ripped this off.
Right.
Where the Enterprise meets another ship and they're bickering and they're unable to communicate because the whatever translation machine that the Enterprise has doesn't work with this culture. So both captains, the captain of the other ship beams Captain Picard down to this planet, as well as their captain, and he just says things like Darmok and Gelada Tanagra, and it turns out that because he is able, so there's some of the translations working right because he's saying when the walls fell, so that's English. So something is happening in the translator, but they're so culturally different that they can't understand each other. Yeah, and the episode is about them basically being hunted by like a beast, right? And then they have to work together, and by working together they'll understand. And that's
because they've had shared experience.
Because they've had shared. Well, this is the thing. Darmok and Gelada Tanagra. It takes the whole episode to spoilers to reveal it, but the Darmok and Gelada Tanagra were people who came together through shared struggle, right? And that's what he's trying to say. And Picard gradually understands that this species communicates through metaphor, even though it doesn't make any sense, because how would you communicate entirely in metaphor? Like, how did they what was the original metaphor? That for some reason that could access my brain easier than the talking lion, but it's the same.
Okay, it's the same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
And so because Boris Johnson has lived, like, the world Boris Johnson inhabits is more foreign than any other country.
Right.
Because every other country has systems whereby people live in ways which are more familiar to us than Boris Johnson's life.
Yeah.
Politics is the communication of values and ideals, which are obviously informed by your material circumstances. And he is basically from another planet. So I don't know if we would be able to just talk coherently about politics without hitting these massive, strange walls where you're just not understanding each other.
No. The right are as well versed in arguing against Marxist ideas or whatever as we are in theirs. He would know if I was just to go like, don't you think the profit motive's problematic? He'd be able to say, no, I think it's quite good. And then I think we probably got other stuff. I bet he's read Lord of the Rings.
I probably has read Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Christmas, I say, do you ever have a good Christmas? What do you do at Christmas?
Obviously you could, obviously you did at Christmas. I'm just saying there comes a point in the conversation where the conversation just breaks down and you'll discover a wall somewhere. A wall where you're like...
Will we get in a huff with each other?
No, not anger. There's just some kind of... This might be a bad analogy and we cut it out. But like Jordan Peterson went on a podcast with Sam Harris. And Sam Harris is a philosopher. He's a bad egg, but he is disciplined in philosophy. Whereas Jordan Peterson is a psychologist and clearly doesn't know a lot about formal philosophy.
Okay.
But he's gone onto this philosophy podcast, and Sam Harris presumes because he does all the overtures of knowing about that world, they talk about knowledge and truth and stuff. And the conversation just absolutely is a car crash.
Okay.
Whoever your guy is and who you want to win, everyone considers this interview a car crash because they can't even agree on what words mean. Like they can't agree because Jordan Peterson just doesn't know the terminology and comes from a different
he did
sort of
that on the
background.
Zizek one, didn't he? Because he doesn't know what...
Sure, but that's what I feel like it would be like. You can't find this common established understanding that allows you to communicate because it's not just ignorance. I think it will come down to values. I think you would hit a massive wall.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I could alter his values, but I bet he knows. I bet he knows stuff. He's devoted his life to politics. I tell you what, we couldn't have a conversation about fucking video games or Star Trek.
Sure, yeah.
There I'd hit a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favourite Pokemon? Who'd you play as on Tekken?
Yeah.
Right? Brakes are on. But I think politics, he'd be able to... He'd disagree with me, but I reckon he'd know shit.
I would love to see the fallout of someone like you just trying to talk to Boris Johnson. Not even
That's why I'd be recording it.
Bonus app.
But first we need to rig it so I get the Monster Munch prize. Is this real? Have Monster Munch given us away?
No, this isn't real at all. Sorry.
What's Monster Munch got to do with skiing?
I wanted to place you in an activity that you felt comfortable with before I placed you in an environment that I knew.
Oh, so I'm enjoying a
comfortable.
nice packet of Monster Munch.
Yeah, it's the way you kind of give an animal some food and then you take it to the vets.
Yeah, that would trick me. That would work.
I would just be using basic vet animal tricks on you.
And I would be got.
Give you a Monster Munch, take you to the Alps.
Yeah, I'd be out with a fucking cone on my neck.
But I feel these questions are big ones that I can't quite answer, which is like there are people you can't convince.
Yeah,
arguably you disagree, right? But you arguably can't even like talk to them properly. They can't like come into your traditional value system. You can't integrate them essentially.
Yeah.
So you can't convince them. You can't integrate them. So if ever the world were to fundamentally change, they would just oppose a socialist country until they died.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. That's as long as they can't enact it. We'll think of fascists, right? Obviously, we don't want fascism to exist, and we should do everything we can to eradicate the ideas. But it's fine if you're just fascist in your own head, fucking sat in your house or talking to your other fascist mates and not able to do anything about it. I don't care. Have your horrible thoughts. Does nothing. Don't need to be like killed.
I guess you're presuming that a socialist country will be able to completely disempower these people who have connections to globally powerful people all around the world. I just don't think that's possible these days.
How powerful is the left right now, Sean? After decades of capitalism.
Right. Not very.
So they've done it.
Yeah. It can be done. Then they're showing the blueprints. Maybe just kill him. Mandatory Redistribution Party was created and produced by Sean Morley and Jack Evans. Our title theme was created by Ella Jean, with additional music by Sean Morley. We've got a live show coming up this Wednesday at the Pier Hat in Manchester, and another at Bolshevism Comedy Club in Leeds on the 2nd of December. Why not take a second or two to imagine what it might be like to attend? Well, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Well, that's for you to think about. Goodbye, friends.